Lightning like Steve McQueen. I'm in the fast lane when the light turns green. And I built tough, I ain't nothing but grit. Cause I made rugged blood, sweat, and spit. Yeah, like a horse I fly. Better push yourself in for a bumpy ride. I like to play hard, but I work harder. And I weather the storm cause I'm built stronger.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Morning Show, the top morning show in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines and, most importantly, provide some actual insight into what you can do with all of this information. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. This is the real side of freight, you guys. There is no theory on any of my stuff. Anybody who appears on my shows are active in the transportation industry. And I also have a twice a week long form podcast that drops every Tuesday and Friday, again, where we only talk about trucking. We talk about best practices. And most importantly, it's about information that you can apply, utilize, and see a meaningful difference in your business and your life. It's as you can see, it's one of the many reasons why I proudly fly this American flag behind me every single day. Is not only is this the greatest nation on earth, but I'm living my American dream. And I want to help each and every one of you guys live your American dream as well. I got a very special guest for you guys today. I will bring him up in a second. His heart was absolutely shattered yesterday when he saw my wedding ring on. But before we get into any of this stuff, I got to give a shout out to my friends over at VHub, you guys, vhubapp.com. Whether you're a broker, carrier, or a shipper, we all need access to trailers at some point in time. And with the rising cost of fuel and repairs and maintenance and everything that's out there, the best part about it, you guys, you get paid to move these. So you should never have to shut your operation down if you have a trailer in the shop, if you're a small fleet owner operator. So what they're working on right now, you guys, is they got Paragould, Arkansas, going to Orting, Washington. You get paid $1,550 to move this trailer. That's on top of the revenue that you can get by loading that trailer out. They also have Winnipeg, Manitoba to Vaughan, Ontario. You get $500 Canadian to do that. They have a flatbed down in Macomb, Mississippi, going up to Brighton, Colorado. You get $1,600 US to do that. And now they have Macedonia, Ohio to Mississauga, Ontario. It's a heated van. Go on vhubapp.com and put in a, put in an offer on that. And then McDonough, Georgia to Mississauga as well. Same thing. It's a reefer. Go on there and put an offer in. And then they also have Milton, Ontario to Moncton, New Brunswick. You get $400 Canadian to do that, you guys. So hit them up, vhubapp.com. My man Xavier Campos and my friend Stacy Steen, they will be in the audience. And yeah, just do me a favor. Let them know that the Freight Coach sent you. Zach Williams, good morning. Let's fucking go. If you guys want to become an independent freight agent and take control of your financial future, hit up Zach and SPI Logistics and join the team over there. Pretty cool. Pretty good group of people. Cody Miller, good fucking morning. Freight enthusiast. Sonny Sharma, orange shirt gang. Let's fucking go. LinkedIn user says, let's fucking go. And that Kyle Littner is really something. Brad Reiner. Brad Reiner? What's up, man? I love me some Brad Reiner. If you guys aren't familiar with LTNA, you guys should reach out to Brad and learn more. Vitaly, he's up there bridging the Canadian and American relations as always. Derek McLeod, good morning. All right, no secret, the second best looking man in freight besides the one in orange here. Kyle Littner's back. What's up, buddy?
What's going on, man? Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
I was heartbroken.
I know it happens. And like the sad thing is like, you've seen me wearing my wedding ring before. So like,
I think I just dismissed it in those moments, but when you had it so prominently displayed in your picture.
Exactly. You know, I was trying to pull that thing off, like back off, you guys. So dude, what's new in your world, man?
Not a whole lot. Staying busy, keeping busy, working with lots of different companies, doing really cool things. So, that's all I try and spend my time with these days, is align myself with companies I think are doing things differently and doing things for the better.
Yeah.
Better is coming is the tagline. So let's try and align with that.
No, definitely. So you're doing consulting work. You're working. Are you working mainly on like sales plans, operations? What are you doing with your clients?
Actually, both of those in a really weird way, because I'm not a salesperson and I don't really have any experience as a sales rep, but I do have experience in building out sales teams and how to implement them. So yes, that's part of what I'm doing with companies. Usually it always starts out with ops. I try and improve processes and remove the inefficiencies in that. My whole thing is you cannot control what the market does, but you can control how you interact with it. And the way that you interact with it is not just outright with rates, but it's what you do within your organization. So most of the stuff I do is improvement within the four walls, and part of that is sales, part of that is ops, part of that is structure, management, all of those things. It's essentially implementing standard business practices into a non-standard business, which is almost any business in freight.
Yeah. Amen to that. You guys hit up Kyle if you guys are looking for any of all of that. Angel, good morning to you. Cameron Lisk, good morning. All. He says, good morning, all. Brad Reiner says www.ltna.org. And of course, man, you're welcome for that shout out. I love what LTNA is all about there. And Vitaly, I don't know why he comes up as LinkedIn user. Maybe he blocked me. Patrick Provance, good fucking morning. Thanks for joining. Dylan Turner, it's all good, man. You're 5 minutes late. It's cool. That's on time in my book. Bob, what's up? Good morning, folks. It's been a while. It's good to see you back here, man. Dude, I want to go over, we're only got a couple articles because, frankly, Kyle and I will be lucky to even break down one whole article. But, I also got some information sent over to me by my friends over at DAT about, just like a market update. And, it was, like loads post rose 6.2%. And that, like the vans led the way. And this is for the week of January 8th through the 14th. And this is 62% less than the same week last year, an all-time high, but with typical seasonal expectations. Dry van post rose 21.4%. Reefers dropped 32%, and flatbeds increased 20% out there. And truck post, it jumped by 55% out there to the network as a whole, which was up 68% year over year in that time. Like, what are you seeing out there, man? Because like it's crazy that where we're sitting in a lot of this data that comes up, it's almost like a lot. I think of it as, is there that much freight that's moving right now? Or are people fishing for pricing? And kind of like what are you seeing?
Yes.
Yes.
All I mean by that is, look, there's so much information always out there, and there seems to be so much conflicting stories going on right now. And really, at the end of the day, that's all data does, is present a story, and you can pick and choose whichever ones you want to create whichever story you need. What's really interesting to me is that if freight works the way that it's supposed to, in the sense that you have shippers tendering to their providers, be it carrier or broker, and those brokers are doing what they're supposed to do, which is match the carrier to the shipper, we don't have any of these issues. We'll have no tender rejections, right? So that's one measure. We would see a decrease in load postings. If everything was running dedicated, you wouldn't need to post your load on a load board, right?
Yeah.
And we wouldn't see an increase in spot rates, because a lot of people tend to believe that spot is supposed to be above contract as a way to almost punish shippers or to persuade shippers to doing things in a more dedicated fashion. Unfortunately, I don't believe that really holds true, especially now. Greater than 21% of all loads are run through a 3PL. So that means that 21% of businesses can't run profitably if spot exceeds contract. No, that doesn't make any sense. So spot has to be below contract, because every single load that a broker books is done on an open market on a spot rate. Even when they do run them dedicated, they can't deviate too far from the spot, because everything is non-binding. So there's nothing to keep the carrier there for. So when we do things the way that we're supposed to do them, we don't see things like increases in spot activity, increases in load postings, increases in tender rejections, any of those metrics that we want to run out there as far as the health of the freight market. We don't have one single source of volume, so we don't really know how many loads are out there, but we do have other ways of looking at it in terms of price. And I think that when we have spot below contract in the manner that it is, and it's not an outrageous gap like it was, we have a more healthy freight market, or freight economy, if you want to call it that, than people believe. The gap between spot and contract is narrowing. Everyone and their mother thinks that contract's going to fall out of bed, but that doesn't really happen if all of your loads are moving and you're happy with all of your loads moving. For people to believe that shippers are somehow going to push 20% down on people, that's just not feasible, especially considering that if all your loads are running and you've got less than 3% rejections, why would you rock that boat?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, Kyle, because because I filled out a couple of RFPs this year, and I know that some people went very aggressive. So it's not like the shippers are necessarily reducing rates, but like when people go out there into bid, they're just like, I'm going super low. And again, like shippers are obviously extremely intelligent. I know that's very hard to comprehend for some brokers, especially in the social media world. They think everyone's an idiot but them. But shippers are very well educated. And they remove those anomaly lows and highs from the bid. And they take an average of kind of like that 80% in the middle. And, and I think that did come though with a significant drop in rates from last year. I don't know if it was 20%, but it was at least a double-digit rate reduction that was out there.
Yeah, what's interesting on that too, two things I'll say for that. One, the shippers are not idiotic. People put them out to be like they're almost robots or asleep at the wheel on this thing. Now, and what would you do if you were in their shoes and you put out the RFP and the first round comes back and people are lowering their price? Of course, they're going to go with it. Or you're going to go back to everyone else and say, sorry, but I have this rate already. It's not like they're dictating where the prices need to go. The other thing I'll say to that is, for the most part, everyone and their mother goes to one place to look at rates, right? And what most people don't realize is that place removes the top 25% and the bottom 25% of prices on any lane. So you will never see the highest of high or the lowest of low. You don't know what people actually run their stuff at. And if we think of this in practical terms, the largest carriers out there are the most efficient, who run things at the cheapest rates. Their prices are not inside of that rate data supplier. So you don't know what someone's truly running that lane at. And when you go at that place to quote your stuff and you say, well, this is what it said on there. One, you don't have the cheapest rates out there. Two, you're also looking at what those contract postings from people who are not running as cheap put out there. And then you're also looking at the spot prices for what people put out there. So because we have no transparency, you never know what any prices are really at. It's a little outrageous, I think, to believe that you can just pull up this thing and know, oh, shippers are pushing rates, or, oh, rates are falling too fast, or this is going too cheap, this, that, the other. Nobody's operating their business deliberately as a loss. So you can't have that mentality that everyone's going out of business and shippers are dictating terms for 2023. That's just not feasible.
It really makes
sense. Not to mention, like I said earlier, 21% of freight, 21%. So on some instances that looks like a lot, and some of it, it's not. If 79% of all business goes direct to carrier, brokers aren't dictating anything.
It makes some catchy headlines though, Kyle, everything they're talking about. It makes me want to sprain my finger because I'm clicking so much on all these articles. I don't know. I got to work on that strength. National averages for rates to month to date is the national average spot rates softened compared out there. And these are the average broker to carrier rates based on contributed transactions from January through the 14th. Vans are at $2.46 a mile, 6 cents higher than December. Reefers are at $2.89 a mile, 8 cents higher than December. And flatbeds are $2.78 a mile, 4 cents higher than December.
Rates are creeping up.
Yeah, rates are creeping up. That's a good sign. Again, I don't have my high frequency. I only have high frequency experience in the industry. I don't have high frequency anything else.
Yeah. And you know what gets overlooked a lot too is the amount of asset owners, the amount of drivers who moved to their own authority in the last year and a half is significantly greater than the historical average. None of those operators have access to enterprise level freight. When you were working at Schneider or Swift, you were running company freight, and then you decided to go out and do it your own. You're stuck getting a load from a broker. If brokers don't have the majority of freight and brokers didn't see the same level of increase in freight that corresponds with the level of increase in individual owner operator authorities, we now have a larger pool of people dependent on brokerage freight and not that same level of growth in that brokerage freight. You have an imbalance of those looking for loads that do not have the corresponding volume for the loads. That in and of itself is a sub-market within the larger freight market, and that is the weakest of the weak.
Yeah. So hold that thought, because clearly Kyle and I have already went for 15 minutes and haven't even opened a fucking article yet, but we'll get to one here. We're going to tie it all in. I got to give some shout outs. Somebody says, Lintner, would you just open a darn logistics company already? Vitaly says drama. Casey Sawyer, good morning. Let's fucking go. Thanks for joining in, Casey. I owe you a message back. I apologize. I was finishing up a 50 load project yesterday, so I was a little tied up there. Louis, what's up? We are rolling today. Louis with Rolling Dice Logistics. Louis, great, man. Andre Stewart, good morning, everyone. Have an awesome day, he says. Thanks for joining, as always, Andre. Rick Wooten, good morning. Thanks for tuning in. Tony, I do not need drayage. Darnell in the house. He does not need drayage at all. We're going to get some shirts made, I think, that just says does not need drayage, just to hand out to Tony. Vitaly, Good sign for who with a zip? I don't know. Dude, you're too on top of your stuff with those emojis there, man. And then we got Ashley Byers. Good morning to you. Thanks for joining in. All right, the article we're going to break down, freightwaves.com. Bank of America bullish on truckload stocks as truck demand nears the floor. So bullish, for me is it's a good sign. It means rates are probably going to increase. And bearish market is the opposite, is a decrease out there as well in that. Because I know that sometimes you see fucking some of these words thrown out, you're like, what the hell does that even mean? I just want to clarify that because I've had that question in my past life. And I know if I'm thinking it, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who are like, what the hell is a bull market and a bear market? Bank of America said on Tuesday it was more bullish on truckload stocks in 2023 as demand appears to have bottomed. B of A Securities research analyst Ken Hoxter made a rare two-step rating upgrade to buy from an underperform on the shares for Schneider and Warner. Below historical valuation multiples, truck demand is near the floor, and a leveling in spot rates were some of the catalysts for the call. Fuck, it's like I'm almost wondering, Kyle, do they watch my show? Because I mean, there's a certain morning show that's been talking about this for a few months. Again, what do I know? I've just moved 3 truckloads in my career. With a building demand base, according to their truck shipper survey demand indicator and historically attractive valuation levels, we turn more positive on select truckload carriers. His bi-weekly survey for truck demand returned to the first sequential increase in December after falling for 10 straight months. The latest survey updated gauging shipper demand for trucks over the next 3 months. It fell by 4% from the update at the end of the year. However, it's still higher than the historical low set in early November. The demand indicator remains below average for the past 3 freight recessions. Like when that sticks out to me is in November, like it was at a historic low and everything else. Do you equate that to the fact that inventory levels were at a historic high and there wasn't a rapid increase and decrease in anything? Like I think a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, peak season went off without a hitch. It's because there was no rush orders. They literally had everything in stock that they could possibly need and then some.
We could probably talk about this article for like 5 hours. There's so much that is underneath and on top of this and connected to it. First, you're right. So to answer your direct question about November and December, yes, peak season, if we want to call it that, was muted for the reasons that you laid out. There was not the typical rush for that because inventories were already high. A lot of that was because shippers made a consensus decision to not get stuck where they were prior, right? Nobody wanted to have the revisiting of 20 and 21 where everything was hand to mouth and there were no goods. You couldn't get things even if you ordered it 3 months in advance. We didn't want to see that happen for Christmas season again. I think that mindset has also changed permanently now. Production locations have shifted, some of it for reasons beyond anyone's control, but even when they are in control, they're bringing them closer to home. They're trying to remove some of the pieces along that supply chain, or at least shorten up the supply chain. So when you do that, there's less moves associated with it. Whether those moves are intermodal or truckload, however they are, there are now less of them. They are more concentrated. So we've removed not only the opportunity for something to go wrong, but we've reduced somewhat of the demand. If it now has 5 truck moves instead of 6, well, that's 1 less movement of a truck. And in my opinion, the actual movement of that truck is the only way to measure volume. I don't care about ton miles. I don't care about tonnage. I only care about when you're taking a Class 8 truck and taking it from A to B, because I've now removed that from the network. So we have less volume out there. We had less of those moves out there. I think that goes for a lot of what we see in freight. Seasonality is diminishing greatly. There's less and less of these boom bust cycles, even within mini boom bust cycles within freight. It's more constant. It's smoother. That helps. That helps with predictability and routing assets as well. We probably actually have enough outright trucks and trailers in the market to satisfy any demand that comes, but those trucks and trailers need to be in the right place at the right time. Otherwise, we have artificial demand for those. When things are calm, it's easier to route them. When they're more predictable, it's easier to route them. And we've also removed one link in that chain. It's easier to route them. So all of that makes sense from the demand side of things, why we didn't quite see that. Specific to this article, I think it's really important to note what the analyst said and who that analyst is. So first of all, what a lot of people don't know is Bank of America writes more asset loans than any other bank out there. So if you're looking to add trucks or trailers or anyone, they are the largest writer of loans in this industry. They have a lot of contacts because of that. They do their research because of that. If we think of a bank, they're not doing stuff just to lose money, right? Beyond that, he didn't just take this thing from underperform to neutral,
Correct.
which would mean don't take any position. He went from don't own it to fucking buy it. Excuse my
Yeah.
French. That doesn't really happen.
You're good. We accept French.
They make calls like that when they are now active in doing it and recommending it to their clients to purchase that. Now, that doesn't mean this is going to turn around overnight, but that certainly means that they believe there to be no more downside movement on the stock price. The stock price is a proxy for the overall business, which is how much volume are we doing and at what price. So Bank of America sees some sort of a combination of an increase in volume and or rates, both of those healthy for everybody else as well. It's really tough to make a case right now for why freight would continue to get worse than it already has been. If you think it has been bad, all signs point to everything getting better for everyone. And Bank of America is taking that next step and recommending that people go out and put their money where their mouth is.
Yeah.
I think there's nothing but positive things to take away from all of this for anyone that wants to look at it.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you, man. And we kind of briefly broke that down yesterday. Or maybe it was Tuesday. I don't fucking remember. But we were talking about how, the first quarter, of this year, it's going to remain looking bleak like the last 6 months of 2022 did, because there's not going to be a fire hose of freight. But what comes towards the end of first quarter every year is the freight uptick. Like produce season kicks off the parade of freight for the year. And that happens mid to late May. I mean, barring any weather in the South that might, screw that over. But again, you're going to start to see that. And then, one thing he noted in here is that, the gap between spot and contract has closed, as in the fact that spot isn't bottoming out. Spot's actually starting to rise, and contracts, when published rates for contracts, RFPs are actually awarded in late this month or early to mid February, depending on when the customers actually publish a lot. You're going to see those very fucking close to each other, because what's going to happen is again, Q1, everyone's accepting everything. Like, you would be a fool to decline a load in Q1, because essentially what's going to happen, and I talk about this frequently, is that rebalance will be a thing this year. I can't say next year because it's already 2023, but it will be a thing. And then that's when you're going to start to see the spot market start to tick up. And then that's when people are going to start rejecting tenders of their cheaper customers, because now they're tier 1 customers, that volume's starting to tick. So they're not going to fuck with their tier 3 customers anymore. It happens every single year in this market. So I think a lot of what you're seeing is going to be, I can't say it's going to be the healthiest of markets. I can't sit here and say it's going to be as gangbuster as it has been over these last 2 years, but this will be a stable market in the sense of it will perform how it has over the 12 years, 3 truckloads that I've only moved in my career. But over this time in my career, where you have your predictable spikes in the market, you have your predictable spikes in rates, in volumes, you have your typical dips in that time as well. So you can plan and strategize a lot better when you're accepting freight, whether it's on a 30, 60, 90-day cycle, or if you're doing a biannual or a quarterly or an annual bid. I think it's going to help balance of balance sheet, for a lack of better terms, this year. Like, it's going to keep it pretty consistent out there. And Vitaly, he says it best, kind of like about happening with inventory. COVID changed a lot of mindsets quite a bit. Likely for the foreseeable future, you can't have empty shelves. And that's very true. I think it wasn't a panic buy. It was, again, I have yet to meet a retailer, and I've used this line, I have yet to meet a retailer that makes money when there's no product on the shelf. So I think a lot of these large retailers, they might have overbought a couple of fucking grills. All right. But guess what? I'm going to buy a Traeger this year, even if it's a 2022 model. It doesn't matter. And then like those normal household goods, like, again, you can't not have this stuff out there. And I think that a lot of the tunes are starting to change, and they're trying to get ahead of it. But again, we need to be under the number one mindset that this doesn't change anything in servicing your customers. All right. No matter what this article or any article out there says, use this article and apply it to your business. But that does not change anything. This isn't I'm going to start looking for anything other. Like, value the shit out of your customers that you have. Overly value the shippers that you have, because it is going to be a lot more well, it's not going to be challenging. It's going to be normal customer acquisition now, because they're not just going to set people up. You have to earn their business. And when you have their business, the mindset of, oh, I'll just find another shipper, that's not going to work. You will find yourself out of business if you think you can recycle shippers, just like the way that some people recycle carriers out there. You can't do it. You need to develop a core base and run with it. That was my little soapbox there.
It's a good soapbox. I mean, it alleviates so many of the issues that we have. If you just operate your business the way you're supposed to, most of these things don't ever come up, and most of the things don't ever bother you.
Yeah, just watch, you guys. Freight Coach Logistics is applying this, like it's true. And like, there's nothing that I talk about on the show that I'm like not doing in my own business.
Yeah.
Like, I'm literally applying this stuff. Like I had mentioned earlier in the show, I just completed a 50 load project here over these last couple of weeks. Guess how many trucking companies I used? 3.
Oh, I nailed it.
Yeah, no, literally, I used 3 trucking companies in total on this. It was,
how everybody else would use 49.
Yeah, dude, and that's exactly it. And I mean, don't get me wrong. If I would have rolled the dice out, could I have put a couple extra bucks in my pocket? Possibly. But this customer, I know the value of a customer. All right. And I'm not willing to roll the dice out there. I want drivers. I paid them what they asked for. They're like, hey, what do you need for these? And they told me, and I paid them that. And guess what? 0 failure the entire time. I had everything that I possibly needed. And these drivers are calling me today like, hey, man, when are these picking back up again? Let me know. Let me know. Again, when you have capacity, I can go in there and as a broker, I can strategically sell to any shipper that has the equipment type that my carriers have, because I know days of the week that they're available, the certain lanes that they're running out there. Again, everyone wants a fucking home run and they forgot how to bunt, or they forgot how to hit a signal. They only want to go for the home run. Like, there's a strategy to this, you guys, because again, you're not going to get everything right away. Yeah.
I got something crazy I got to tell you, and I had to go look to make sure I was remembering this right. In the last year, 91% of dry van loads are non-repeat bookings, non-repeat cuts. So a broker's using a different carrier. Only 9% were dedicated repeats.
Those are probably all the users on Broker Carrier, my tech platform, because we make it easy as hell for you to use the same carrier time and time again. I think he's bullish. I wanted to bring up this point because, excuse me, Bullish, excuse me. I think he's bullish on Warner because I saw something that Warner has, like, I don't know how much it was. I want to say it was like $1 billion in cash that they have released out there. So like, they're going to be like, watch either Q1, late Q1 or early Q2. Warner's going to make a fucking splash, I bet, in the market. They're going to make a splash. I might have been making up that amount of money too. All I know is it was a lot.
What are they doing with it? Purchasing something?
Oh, they're going to be that has to be an acquisition. Otherwise, why would you sit on cash like that?
Yeah.
Again, I went to public school, but my assumption is they're going to be acquiring 1, if not 2 companies out there. But that article, you guys, is from Freightways, Bank of America, bullish on truckload stocks. And for V and Tony, who doesn't need drayage, you guys, I'm going to be rolling out something here unique about that. So just sit tight on your thing there about the show as being too short. Too Short, aka Bay Area legend. Blow the Whistle is a song. Just throwing that out there. But anyways, that's it for today, you guys. That was a quick 30 minutes. Kyle, how does anybody reach out to you and get in contact with you?
You can usually find me trolling on LinkedIn, but because I got a renewal notice the other day from my domain host, I finally published my website. If you're super bored, I'm going to start putting everything I write only on there. So KyleLittner.com, very original.
It is very original. It stands out in the crowd. That's what I like about you, Kyle. But hey, you guys, that's it for today. Derek, I appreciate it, man. Come back. We are live every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central. And as always, you guys, I put the links to the article. It's not plural today because Kyle and I only get to one normally, but I put the links over on the YouTube channel, The Freight Coach, as well as the Coffee with the Freight Coach audio only replay, which is available on iTunes and Spotify almost immediately after that show. And if you guys do go over to those platforms, do your boy a solid. If you saw value in what we talked about here, you guys subscribe and share the show, because that's how we grow. That's how we reach more and more people, is because of each and every one of you. That's how it's fucking blown my mind how fast this show has grown. And it's because of you guys who show up every single day and support this. So if you see value in this, share the show, you guys. I appreciate you. I love you. And we'll be talking to you soon.